my audience with the king today, I handed my letter of resignation and that of the entire cabinet because it's clear I have lost the majority in parliament. There is no need for a no-confidence vote in parliament anymore. My resignation is in accordance with the constitution since I've lost support in the lower house of parliament.
We'll speak to Yeen Seen, who is the founder and chief executive officer at the Centre for Research, Advisory and Technology, which is based in Kuala Lumpur. Yeen Seen, thank you very much for your time. Did the coalition withdraw its support from Yassin because of those two issues we mentioned, the national economy and the response to the pandemic, or was there something else?
Well, I feel that the reason why PM Muhyiddin has resigned today, there are 2-3 factors that caused his downfall or his resignation. One is, the first one that we need to recognize is that Muhyiddin, his party Bersatu, and the largest political party in Malaysia, UMNO, the two of them are fighting on the one common voter base, which is the Malay voter base. On that score, they are not complementing each other, and therefore they see each other as a threat all the time. So although many people have also said that Muhyiddin should have asked for a vote of confidence when he assumed power back in last year, but it is neither here nor there, in my opinion, as it will really not affect his current predicament. To me, it was just more of a formality that he should have done to lend legitimacy to his own government. But back then, he didn't want to take any risk because he was comfortable and he thought that he's riding high with his strategy to contain the pandemic back in March 2020. But I feel that what really caused his downfall is that his government is actually built on the support of other parties, other larger parties, if I may be more precise. And the government was not built on the usual coalition power-sharing partnership. Why we say so is because when Muhyiddin formed the government, there was no actual deep discussion about how the power-sharing, the formula will be shared. What are the policies that they are going to pursue together? In particular, in his capacity as the Prime Minister, he appointed most of the important ministerial positions to his own parties, to his own cabinet, without proper consultation of his own coalition partners, especially the largest partner here, which is UMNO. And that is also evident that from the fact that some of the ministers appointed are actually not holding any party positions from within UMNO, and these are the core leaders of UMNO, of whom has no controversies and court cases hanging over their head. So further to that, the Sabah state election that was being held late last year has also witnessed that this cooperation for the PN government is highly unstable, and in fact, they were actually competing on the same political ground like what I have mentioned earlier, and that also created further friction among the political parties. And since then, COVID cases has spiked from the Sabah state election, and today we are still suffering as a whole country.
Right. Okay.
And also,
look, it's basically a combination of many things which you've been explaining to me, but I just need to ask you this question so that we can get an understanding of the political situation in terms of when Mahathir Mohamad became Prime Minister in 2018, there was a deal at that time that he would be Prime Minister for half of the term and then it would be Anwar Ibrahim. So then Muhyiddin Yassin came in. Where does Muhyiddin Yassin fit in politically in terms of, does he belong to Mahathir Mohamad's party or Anwar Ibrahim's party? Is it a political issue with party politics or something about his own personal leadership? I mean, because that might help to find a successor.
Well, you see what happened today when Muhyiddin resigned and what happened to Mahathir when he resigned last year was almost about the same thing. The Prime Minister resigned, and that would mean that constitutionally speaking, when the Prime Minister resigned, the government will fall. So where we are right now today is exactly the same like what happened when Prime Minister Mahathir resigned. On the note that Mahathir agreed to only hold power for half a term and then pass on to his then successor Anwar Ibrahim, that was a pact that Bersatu, that the then party that belongs to both Mahathir and Muhyiddin, the immediate former and the current acting or caretaker Prime Minister, they were then in the same party. Right. I would think back then Muhyiddin saw a void immediately when Mahathir resigned. And when Mahathir resigned, technically speaking, when the whole government collapsed, there was no cabinet. And therefore, Muhyiddin managed to garner his support from his current partner, namely UMNO, and they presented themselves to the Agong, who is the king at the palace, that they had the majority of seats in parliament. And that's how Muhyiddin became the choice of the king, that he had the mandate of most of the people of the country, and therefore he became the government, and he became the prime minister, and he formed his government. Yeah.
Yeen Seen, thank you so much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it.